A couple weeks ago, I did my big convention for the year as an author and business owner. I sold my books, my plushies, my merch, all of that at C2E2, the Chicago Comic and Entertainment Expo, and it was a blast. While I was there, I spoke to some other vendors about some upcoming events, especially those that welcome authors. One person told me about an upcoming event that was prioritizing independent authors, especially authors in the romance and fantasy genres, and I was really excited to learn more. Then she showed me the info on it, and I saw that it was in Baltimore, and I was like, I don't have time to go all the way to Baltimore right now, and then I promptly forgot about it. Until about a week ago. That's when I learned that by forgetting about this convention, not only did I dodge a bullet, no, I dodged the book community equivalent of a nuclear war. President Tronald Dump said, hey Savvy, with these new tariffs, I may be giving all of us Americans a Kit Kittredge summer, but at least I'm not giving you specifically a Molly McIntyre's fake British bomb shelter spring. On May 2nd and 3rd, 2025, the Baltimore Convention Center hosted the first annual A Million Lives Book Festival, which most attendees and vendors alike are now referring to on social media as A Million Lies. This festival promised featured authors, book signings, at least 500 customers, author panels on specialized topics like racial diversity, LGBTQ representation, and how to narrate audiobooks, and so much more. Perhaps most exciting of all was the promise of a Saturday night fantasy-themed ball where authors and readers alike could dress up in full character cosplay while enjoying a selection of snacks and drinks and dancing to music from a live DJ. Sounds like fun, right? What could possibly go wrong?
Foreshadowing is a literary device.
Some are calling this the Fyre Festival of BookTok.
These people are carrying mattresses.
Some are calling it the book community's equivalent of DashCon.
Give me back my money!
But you know what? At least DashCon had a ball pit. A Million Lives was a 2-day festival put on by a company called Archer Management, a small business run by independent fantasy author Grace Willows. Tickets for festival attendance ran between $50 and $250. A $50 ticket got you access to the event only on Saturday. If you wanted to attend on both Friday and Saturday, you need a $150 ticket, and if you wanted to do these things plus attend the Magical Fantasy Ball on Saturday night, you'd need to buy a VIP ticket costing $250. These prices are wild for a first-time event. That's about the cost of a VIP ticket to attend the event I sold at C2E2, the big Chicago Comic Con, where we had 20,000 guests show up outside of the vendors, plus a panel with the entire cast of The Breakfast Club and a discussion with Veronica Roth that I didn't go to because I was working my booth, but I kind of wish I went to because it sounds cool. Anyway, my point is 250 tickets for a first-time event? What? Well, at least these ticket prices would include lots of stuff, right? You'd get to meet up with authors, you'd get to visit the content creation room, whatever that was. You'd even get to attend a formal ball where you'd finally feel like the warrior princess that you truly are deep inside. If only any of that actually happened.
Get you some nuts.
Yeah, you effin'.
Up yours, woke moralist. We'll see who cancels who.
Hey everyone, my name is Savvy and welcome back to Savvy Writes Books. On this channel, we do book reviews, commentary about things going on in the book industry, media analysis, video essays, and more. So I hope that you guys will subscribe if you're enjoying the type of videos on this channel. Before I get too deep into the main meat of today's video, I want to give a quick thank you to all of my Patreon supporters. My Patreon supporters' names are up on the screen right now. In the description below, you can see links to my top tier patrons where they can promote their own websites, their own social media, things like that, so please do check them out as well. We've got a lot of really cool small crafters and Etsy shops and stuff. It's really exciting. And also, if you're interested in getting a behind the scenes blog post with me talking about some of the events I do as an author, sneak peeks of new books I'm writing, and reflections on my own writing journey, sometimes bonus videos, sometimes live stream recordings, just lots of bonus content, then you can check out my Patreon page, which is linked in the description below as well. And if you want to stay involved in my community, but you don't want want to join Patreon right now, I also have a subreddit. I just recently launched this subreddit, and it's a place for us to have discussions about writing topics, book discussions. Most of it's just American Girl doll memes right now, but that's cool too, right? So go ahead and check out r/Savvy Writes Books, which is linked below. This video does not have a sponsor, so I figured I would just let you guys know that, as I've mentioned in previous videos, for the rest of the month of May, I am doing a special with my small business, Forever Home Friends, which is my series of books and plushies based on the stories of real rescue dogs and cats getting adopted and finding their forever homes. That company that I've been running for 8 years now, this is my last year running it, and as a result, I'm doing lots of fun promotional things for the month of May. Our special is that you can get a free handmade friendship charm bracelet from me, along with any purchase of a book and plushie combined set. So go ahead and check out foreverhomefriends.com, linked in the description below, and don't forget that 10% of our profits will always benefit Chicago area animal shelters, which is awesome. Now, let's get into A Million Lives. At the start of May, authors who signed up to sell their books at the A Million Lives Book Festival were hopeful. After all, nearly 100 authors had registered, and Archer Management publicized an estimated 500 additional guests. And yeah, tickets were expensive, but the event was specialized. So first, some background information. What is Archer Management? Archer Management is a company run by a new, young and upcoming author named Grace Willows. Her company, at least according to the website, both puts on book-themed events in the Baltimore area and also offers services to authors online. Yeah, she charges a lot to help you promote your book, which, I mean, that's fair, people do need to be paid for their work, but after seeing her portfolio, and by her portfolio I mean this event, I don't think she's quite in my budget, okay? So, okay, who is Grace Willows? Here's a TikTok that she posted back in September of 2023, just a month after she started up this company, Archer Management.
I'm a 23-year-old Capricorn, and I am a stay-at-home mom to a sweet little boy.
Oh, okay. Okay, wait, hold on, that explains everything. Okay, maybe it doesn't explain everything, as we're gonna see in a bit, but it does explain some things. A 23-year-old Capricorn in September of 2023 would make you a 25-year-old Capricorn in May of 2025. Grace, you're still a baby. You're just a little baby. Look, I'm not gonna lie, there's a part of me that gets it. I kind of understand, okay? I was once a 23-year-old boss babe myself. Back when I was about Grace's age, I was constantly outlining all these ideas I had for big book conferences and festivals and conventions that I wanted to run, including like locations I might want to use, different venues in Chicago that I was gonna start reaching out to and speaking to, musicians that I might want to hire, guest judges and featured authors, people I'd want to contact, how I'd structure everything, you name it. I had a million ideas, and I was always trying to flesh these out. I'd take these plans to my writing groups for feedback. I'd spend time researching how to put on a successful event. I'd inquire with event managers, things like that, you name it. And at the time, I was really into doing my own events with Forever Home Friends, selling my own books and plushies at events that I went to, hosting author signings all throughout the Midwest, and I would often ask my mom to help since my mom's career was in professional event planning. So this is just to say that I absolutely understand the energy of a girl boss in her early 20s with an ambitious attitude and bad impulse control, because I was that girl. Then when I was 27, the COVID pandemic hit, and then I had to learn how to do things like remember to take my ADHD medication, put the whiskey bottle away, smoke a joint, and chill the fuck out. A lot of us have big dreams, and when you're young, sometimes we think those dreams are easier to achieve than they actually are. That can be a really magical feeling when you're in your early to mid 20s, and it can be so exciting to take those plunges and watch your dreams become reality before your eyes, just with a little bit of hard work and determination, especially if you're a person who has a lot of friends and family around you who work corporate jobs and don't feel the same draw towards the entrepreneurial world. They might not understand, and it just kind of motivates you more to keep doing what you're doing while everyone else around you is like, cool, you're such a go-getter, I love it. But Grace, okay, take it from someone who could have babysat you in the mid-2000s. You have to know when enough is enough. And enough becomes enough when you get over 100 other people involved and get yourself into a position where the only way out of said position is to make up more and more elaborate lies. Also, you can avoid paying people who did work for you while you go deeper into debt and try to dodge everyone's lawyer. That was, unfortunately, the result of A Million Lives Book Festival. On the surface, A Million Lives sounded like a great opportunity for a lot of authors, especially newer authors who had recently released their debut books. An event just for independent authors, specifically in romance and fantasy, that would bring a certain target customer looking to buy. It was time to make some money, right? To help draw in customers, Grace had previously reached out to multiple authors who had large followings on TikTok, hoping to secure them as featured authors for the event, thereby drawing in their fans as customers. That's not a bad idea. So let's hear from some of these authors.
So I put down my $150 table fee back in February of 2024. I flew out for this. I was like, the table fee is $150, why not? I planned my pregnancy around this event like a clown. I even paid extra to sponsor this event.
This is an author and TikTok creator named Percy J. As I will do with every author I cite in this video, Percy's website is linked below if you'd like to check out any of her books. Percy, one of the featured authors at A Million Lives, was promised that this event would bring in the readers, and as such, she agreed to not only sell her books there, but also to sponsor the event. Sponsors for A Million Lives could pay extra in addition to their $150 vendor fee to put their own promotional materials in the swag bags, which all attendees would receive. Theoretically, assuming they spent $150 or more for the ticket, because swag bags were a benefit for VIP attendees. Yeah, the $50 general admission tickets, they did include the swag bags. But anyway, as it turns out, neither did the more expensive tickets. We'll get to that in a little bit. So customers who paid $150 would receive a swag bag full of bookish goodies, promotional materials from authors, stuff from the festival. Authors could get their wares and advertisements into the swag bag either by donating items to the festival or by sponsoring the festival. And as Percy shows us in her TikTok, the higher the sponsorship cost, the more promotion that author would get. An author who chose to spend $250 to sponsor this event was promised not only their promo items in the swag bags, but also advertisement on the Archer Management website, a social media takeover of the Facebook group, and more. So, under the impression that this festival was bringing in lots of authors she knew and trusted, Percy decided to sponsor the festival.
I ended up picking the highest tier of sponsorship. So I was like, $250, why not? It's a good deal. So I was supposed to get my logo on the website, an author takeover day in the Facebook group, an author focus day with several posts about me and my books on social media, a medium window or floor decal, and my logo on the tote bag. Now I sent them all of my things, my headshots, my covers, my logo, all that stuff. And on January 20th, they received my $250. And if you're confused, Book Lover was a free sponsorship tier. And by free, that just means if you bring swag, like stickers, bookmarks, art, whatever, those get put in the swag bags for the VIP attendees. But after that email exchange, it's pretty much crickets. I did not, in fact, get my author takeover day in the Facebook group. There was not a single post about me or my books on Archer Management socials. And we also never got confirmation for how many items we needed to bring for the VIP swag bags.
Percy never got the sponsor benefits that she paid for. No one ever posted the promotional graphics that she sent onto the social media pages, and nobody ever reached out telling her why they neglected to do so. But at least she got to put her stuff in the swag bag, right?
VIP ticket holders didn't have swag bags. The swag bags were thrown away by the convention center.
Okay, that's really the excuse that Archer Management is going to use? That the convention center threw away the swag bags? Dude, do you want the Baltimore Convention Center to sue you for defamation? Because it kind of sounds like you want the Baltimore Convention Center to sue you for defamation. The only way that the convention center actually threw away all the swag bags is if Rich Evans really did take a dump in them first.
You know, funny story. At the last premiere we went to, we were seeing the new Ghostbusters film, and I had to take a dump in my swag bag.
But Rich Evans has an alibi. He was living his best life in Milwaukee at the time of the crime.
Tape land reaction! Tape land reaction!
So he's innocent, and we know that Grace actually just didn't want to pay to get the bags made in the first place. And there's actual proof that the swag bags were never thrown away by the convention center. We know this because an author named Laura Buckheit, who also attended the event, emailed the convention center specifically to ask about this. Laura's email says, "Hi there. I was an attending author at this event, and I wanted to see if you could provide some clarity surrounding some accusations that the BCC lost boxes of books, snacks, and swag bags. It's also circulating that the convention center wouldn't allow the organizer permission to place signing throughout the convention center to help guide attendees to the right rooms, that they had 10 different reps throughout the duration of planning this event, and that she didn't receive final unloading/entering the con information until a couple of days before the event, leading to mass confusion for both vendors and attendees. Any insight you can provide would be greatly appreciated, as this isn't the first event I've attended at BCC, and I'm appalled at how this event was run by the organizer. Thank you for your time." Lucky for us, the Baltimore Convention Center replied to her email in a timely manner. Hi, Laura. I'm so sorry you had an unpleasant experience at your event this weekend. I can tell you that we didn't receive information from the event organizer about missing boxes from the event. I checked in multiple times with show management and heard nothing but positive comments about how things were going on site. Directional signage is absolutely allowed to be placed throughout the public spaces to help guide attendees as long as it is provided by the event. We provide easels complimentary for them to be placed on if needed. I'm pretty sure A Million Lives Book Festival has been assigned to the same convention services manager since it was contracted. I would go nuts if I had that much turnover in my department. And lastly, loading and unloading information is discussed at various points during the planning process, but I can check to make sure this was covered. Again, I'm sorry your experience wasn't as expected, and I hope you will return to the BCC for a future event. Okay, so sounds like Grace lied, but we'll put a pin in that and return to it in a bit. Now, often conventions like these will partner with local bookstores. It's a great way to do some cross-promotion. Archer Management did partner with a local bookstore, but first, they lied about who the bookstore was, and second, they treated the actual bookstore like shit. Ready for this? For months leading up to this event, Archer Management advertised their partner as Four Seasons Books. Not only was Four Seasons Books not in attendance at this event, but they'd also never agreed to do it in the first place. They were never actually confirmed as a vendor. This didn't happen. They said as much on Threads. Statement regarding A Million Lives Book Festival. Four Seasons Books was not affiliated with A Million Lives Book Festival at any time. While we were approached by the event organizer to serve as the indie bookstore partner, we ultimately declined after reviewing the event's logistics. On February 25th, 2025, our events manager inquired about the status of ticket sales and anticipated attendees. The organizer stated they had sold mid-500 tickets, expecting between 600 to 800 attendees. A separate conversation between our team and the organizer took place on February 26th, 2025, in which we clearly communicated that we would not be participating. We declined, politely and clearly, because we were unable to source most of the featured books wholesale and had concerns about logistics. Despite this, we have since learned that our name may have been used in communication with authors or attendees as though we were confirmed partners. This is categorically false. We sincerely apologize to any authors who were misled by that claim and want to be clear. We were not involved with this event, did not provide books for sale, and did not authorize the use of our name. We are heartbroken for the authors who were impacted by poor communication or unmet expectations. We stand firmly for transparency and accountability in literary event planning and will continue to prioritize partnerships that respect and protect authors, booksellers, and readers alike. But then, Sarah Zane, another author who was exhibiting at this festival, commented on Threads with proof that Grace had been advertising Four Seasons Books as being an official event partner when reaching out to her and trying to sell her on attending the convention as a featured author. Here's what Sarah said on Threads. Here's the email she sent us. I definitely don't blame you guys, just wanted you to see it in case no one had sent it to you. The email from Archer Management reads, "Hi everyone, I have partnered with my local indie bookstore Four Seasons Books for A Million Lives Book Festival to be the bookseller. If you are interested in them being in charge of bringing and selling your books during the event, please let me know. I absolutely love this bookstore and all of their staff. If you have any questions about this or how it would work, please let me know." To which the manager of that bookstore replied to this thread saying, "It's bizarre, because if my coworker and I have done our math correctly, we had only met her 8 days prior." Okay, so that wasn't very well handled. Okay, but they did eventually secure a bookstore, and that's what matters, right?
My name is Selena, and I also own the Midnight Owl Books. We were the official bookstore for the event called A Million Lives. I was also attending as an author, so I had 2 tables. I was asked to be the bookstore about 4 or 5 weeks ago by Grace, the event runner herself, because she said that the previous bookstore bailed on her, which I know now is not the truth. And I'm going to be completely upfront with everything that she offered me. She offered me $2,000. She offered me lodging. She offered to provide me with all of the profits from the books. So she was providing the books, and I got to sell them and keep the money. I at first told her that I did not think that was fair for her, and after trying to make it so that we split the profits twice, 3 times, 4 times, so eventually I relented and I said, fine, I'll keep all the profits, whatever. She told me that she was going to be buying about like $5,000 to $8,000 worth of books, which means that I would be getting about $5,000 to $8,000 in profit. I was very excited about that. She provided the books. She took the very, very, very long time to tell me even what books were being ordered, when I should even have inventory counts for the books. I had no hotel confirmations. I had no money, so the $2,000 that was promised to me, I only got like 5 days before the event, and that was because I said that I needed to figure out staffing for the booth if she wasn't going to pay me that money, because that money was going directly towards paying for my dog's boarding. So after being ignored for 3 days, her saying that she went on a little mental health break, I got $900 at least to cover the dog's boarding. So she still owes me $1,100. Her excuses range from my identity was stolen, the bank took money out of my savings and sent it to a random person, which does not happen. The convention center scammed me. The convention center stole boxes from me. They stole VIP bags from me. They stole all this stuff from me, which were all proved false when several authors reached out to the convention center and spoke to them directly.
Oh no! Grace's identity got stolen? Really? That's awful. Well, that could explain a lot of all of this disorganization, right? If her identity got stolen, that's probably very stressful. Okay, we're gonna keep that particular excuse in mind as we progress throughout this video. We're gonna put a pin in the stolen identity thing for now, but we will be coming back to it, don't worry. So as part of the perks for being a featured author who traveled to this event, Archer Management offered to pay for these authors' rooms at the Hilton, which was the hotel attached to the convention center. So authors began booking their plane tickets to Baltimore, knowing they'd have a hotel room ready when they got there, and then a festival full of customers arriving the next day, right?
So I was going to stay with my friend and fellow author Callista Neath. We were going to be staying at the Hilton that is connected to the Baltimore Convention Center. Does it look like I am in the Hilton to you? Neath was a featured authors got their rooms paid for free by Archer Fantasy Events. Allegedly. And on the Wednesday, before we all flew out, the featured authors got an email saying, hey, my rep at the Hilton has not been answering my phone calls or emails over the past week, and said that she couldn't confirm bookings. And so she was instead moving all the featured authors to the Days Inn across the street. Y'all look at this. There are freaking scratch marks on this bed, bro.
As we saw, Percy tagged fellow author Callista Neath in this TikTok, so I hopped on over to Callista's TikTok page where she had even more tea to spill on the hotel drama.
So this began 18 months ago. I was emailed and asked to be a featured author for 1,000,000 Lives. And I thought, great, this will be wonderful. I thanked her for the opportunity. I accepted the invitation. We were supposed to be put up in a Hilton. That was where rooms are. It's connected to the what's called convention center. We were all supposed to be in there, all the featured authors. So again, this is 18 months ago, and a lot happens in 18 months. In February, I confirmed the hotel's good, right? Because I'm about to buy a plane ticket. This is the email we get. Do you see 4 days ago up there? 4 days ago. Right now, it's almost midnight of May 4th. We go from the Hilton to the Days Inn. And I'm going to be rooming with my bestie Percy, who's pregnant with twins. We're not in the same building anymore of the convention center. So I'm like, what in the So we go to check in. I pay for my separate early check-in, and her credit card doesn't go through. So I email her. I call her on Instagram. She tells me her identity was stolen, so they froze all of her accounts. 4 days ago, you switched to this hotel, and there was nothing of this. And your girl's a sickly bitch, so I still have corporate. You know what my corporate is? I was a credit analyst, and I'm a compliance officer. When your credit gets stolen, they freeze your credit bureaus. You still have access to your money. You can still live your life. So the front desk guy, Santiago, he lets me go in my room and everything. He's like, the card won't go through. And I'm like, dude, I will, if you need me to pay for it, I'm paying for it because I need a room. I haven't slept yet. You want me to pay for it? And he's like, no, it's okay. We'll get it straightened out with her. I'm like, okay. I called her. I messaged her. She's getting straightened out with her bank. She's going to call you back. 2 hours later, I go back downstairs because I DoorDash stuff. She has not called the front desk. I talk to Santiago again. And I'm like, hey, did she call you? No call. I'm like, wow, that's sketchy. You're not going to get this all set up. So I tell Santiago that you might want to call her because there's a bunch of other authors going to be coming here that's got the same issue. And it's not just going to be me. It's going to be a bunch of us here. And we're all not going to have the hotel deal. So call her. He says, I don't want to be unprofessional and bother her. And I'm like, look, she is the one that set this up and is the one being not professional, and her credit card's not going through. You have other human beings coming here. On the second day of the signing, she comes up to me like, hey, I know this is going to be really unprofessional. My accounts are frozen, and can you pay for your hotel? The red flags I had coming out here. So I kind of side-eye her, and I'm like, and we're getting paid back for this, and we were paid to be here, so like our our feature fee, like our appearance fee, and the hotel, and you're gonna pay that back to us immediately, right? And she's like, yeah. I'm skeptical, but I'm still willing to play along at this point. Okay, that's fine. Spoiler alert, I left it under her and they can chase her for the money because I'm already out the money that she paid us, and I'm not going to put myself also in debt under hotel room for an event that she just absolutely did not. This is such false advertisement. I am so heated for the poor readers that came here, especially the readers who came to see me. I'm like,
okay, so now not only are they in a completely different hotel than promised, but also the person who's supposed to pay for the hotel rooms didn't pay for the rooms. Once again, we're getting the stolen identity excuse. Put a pin in it for now, we'll come back to it. Let's keep in mind too that both Percy and Callista were authors that Archer Management had reached out to. They did not apply for this event on their own. Archer Management said, hey, you guys seem to have built a successful audience. How about we give you some perks to incentivize you to come to our festival? And so, under the assumption that, as highly coveted authors to help draw in customers to this new event, they would in return have their hotel room fees covered. So, as it turns out, they ended up having to stay at a different hotel, one across the street instead of the one connected to the convention center as promised. And also, the company never even paid for the hotel rooms as per the contract, leaving these authors to have to pay for the hotel rooms in the moment. But at least they had a hotel room, right? The Days Inn, while cheap and sometimes kind of moldy, is still a reputable hotel chain with comfortable rooms. Right?
And we are authors with these heavy suitcases and boxes. This place did not have a wheelchair ramp. My pregnant ass had to be carrying these 50+ pound suitcases upstairs.
Okay, so it sounds like this hotel was not accessible, but maybe this was another honest mistake. Sure, it's unacceptable, but it's not like Archer Management completely ignored the ADA and refused all disability accommodations on purpose. They wouldn't do that, right? Oh, we're just getting started, friends. We are just getting started. Molly Likovich, known on TikTok as Magical Molly, is a disabled author who also attended A Million Lives as a vendor. Molly has plenty of experience selling her books at events, and in the past, she's always been able to request disability accommodations with no difficulty. Following a similar protocol, Molly decided to reach out to Archer Management to request the same accommodations, the ones she always gets at other conventions, which she is entitled to as per the Americans with Disabilities Act.
When I work events that have a PA fee, I ask if they can either waive the fee or offer me a discount, because part of under ADA, the disability accommodation I need is having someone with me to help me get there and be there, like in case I fall down and faint or collapse or have spasms and need help. Every other event I've ever worked that had a PA fee either waived it or gave me a discount because they were like, we completely understand you're disabled, that's what matters. I mean, I have had events that are still not ADA accessible like they should be, but regardless, when I said this to her, because she invited me personally, I never heard of it. She reached out to me around Christmas, asked if I'd be in it. I said sure, but she was very combative about the PA fee being discounted or waived, claimed that she needed to fund the ball. So now that I know that's where the PA fee supposedly went, ridiculous.
While some events may charge a fee to have an assistant at the event with you, under the ADA, people with disabilities are entitled to have this fee waived because for them, having an assistant isn't a convenience or a luxury, it's a necessity, especially if they need someone who can help them with physical tasks or who might need to get medical help for them in case of an emergency. But when Molly requested that the fee be waived, she was told no. We'll get into what Grace meant when she said we need the money to fund the ball in just a bit, but for now, keep in mind that Archer Management has now violated the ADA. Okay, maybe Grace didn't understand the ADA because she's just new to putting on events, with this being only her second event ever. Maybe she had some kind of mix-up and didn't understand Molly's request or her circumstances. I doubt it, but what if? No, I'm just kidding. That's not possible. This wasn't even the festival's only ADA violation. What else happened, Molly?
I want to make sure it's just an ADA accessible event, which then it wasn't. There were rooms for panels that didn't have chairs.
Whoa, I'm sorry. Did you say they didn't have chairs in the rooms where the panels go? What kind of event, especially one charging customers 3 figures for admission, doesn't have chairs for the audience, let alone chairs for the panelists? There's no way this is real, right? Hold on, we need to take a look at some video footage of this panel. A convention panel with no chairs. I need to see this to believe it.
Well, this is the narrator panel for A Million Lives. I'm the moderator for this narrator panel. Audiobook narrators are just like a form of being a voice actor.
Best friend voice. I always go for like a valley girl.
They're pretty cool people, you know. I mean, Zach's okay, but the rest of
Okay, yep, yeah, there it is. All it needs is the DashCon ball pit in that room, and we've got ourselves a meme. This TikTok was posted by an audiobook narrator named Carmen Chantel, who attended the festival to represent her audiobook narration services and to moderate a panel about being a narrator. But when she got there, the room had no chairs for the audience or for the panelists, so everyone just sat on the floor, which is not ADA compliant, to say the least. Let's see what else Carmen has to say about her experience attending the festival as an audiobook narrator.
Come on in. Sorry. We're kind of just getting cozy. We're waiting for chairs if they show up. If they don't, this was unique. It's a unique finale. We're just rolling. How many book events can you go to and say, you know what, I sat on the floor and listened to a crowd of narrators?
Half an hour before the narrator panel was going to happen, I asked my PA and a narrator friend of mine if they could ask the organizer if I could make an announcement, because I had not actually seen anybody leaving for other panels, to be quite honest. So I wanted people to go to this panel. I was so excited about it, so I wanted to make an announcement. I had not seen the room prior to making this announcement. I had not checked it out. I honestly didn't even know the room number when I made the announcement. But I just said, hey, check the schedule. We're in that room. We're heading there in 15 minutes. Please be there. Come join anybody that wants to join. So I do feel a bit of responsibility when we show up to the room and there's no accommodations that we would expect in a typical panel room. Upon realizing that indeed was our room, I asked my narrator friends and my PA to see if there's any way they could maybe ask the event organizer if we could get more accommodations for that room. And they were made aware. They said that they would, do what they could. I made the decision to move forward with the panel on the floor. I said, well, let's make do.
See, when Carmen got to the room, which she was not shown ahead of time, despite being the moderator, she realized there were no chairs. So she found the event organizer, notified her that the room had no chairs, and asked her to please bring some chairs. The time slot for the panel began, and still no chairs. So Carmen sat on the floor and moderated the panel from there, and it was a good thing that she started the panel, because from everything I heard, the audiobook narrator panel went very well. It was very interesting. The audience really seemed to like it. The audience, of course, who unfortunately also didn't have chairs, which allegedly caused some members to have to leave because they couldn't sit on the floor for that long due to disabilities and physical limitations. I've got to say, I really do admire the positive attitude that Carmen maintained throughout this entire process, and I can see why she's an audiobook narrator, because her voice is really nice to listen to. She'll be linked below if you want to support her work as well. So we've got no chairs, we've got no disability accommodations, but at least the event organizer, Grace Willows, is trying, right? At least she wants to do her best. Well, here's what Molly posted after the event was over. Wait, what? Okay, so the text on screen reads, when you ask about getting an accommodation for your disability and then find out the event coordinator complained about you being demanding to other authors. Are you telling me that Grace, the founder, CEO, and head boss babe of Archer Management, is now shit-talking her own vendors when they ask for things like disability accommodations? There's just no way. There must be some kind of misunderstanding. Just kidding. No, there isn't. Molly isn't the only author who learned through the grapevine that she was being shit-talked by the event coordinator, allegedly, of course. Meet Elva Stephanie, a tattoo artist recruited by Archer Management to exhibit at the A Million Lives Festival. Elva was offering book-themed tattoos to customers, which is a really cool idea. I've been to conventions before that have a tattoo artist in attendance, and sometimes it can be fun to get a small tattoo, like with a friend or something, to commemorate the event, especially if you're a person who's into tattoos like I am. I get it. Elva was also another person that Grace was allegedly shit-talking behind the scenes, despite the fact that every one of her interactions with customers went fantastic. But I think it was the terms of the contract before the event that had Grace already annoyed with Elva. As per the agreement Grace locked in with Elva and her manager, Elva would be paid $1,000 to be a featured artist at this event, and she would not have to pay any fee for a table or any fee for a hotel room, which sounded like a good deal to her. So, how did the event go for Elva?
The payments did not happen. They did not happen. Communication did not happen. It wasn't until the week of the event that I found out this whole time that there was a Discord for the authors and vendors as well as the attendees. So the only communication I was able to have with this owner was through email, and my assistant would send 4, 5, 6 emails without being answered. In November, I was supposed to receive the first installment of my payment. I did not receive that. Instead, I was told that her identity was stolen.
Wait, no. Hold on a sec. We need to talk about this now. Grace's identity was stolen again? Remember, her identity was apparently stolen last week in early May when everyone was trying to check in for their hotel rooms. But also, now back in November, 6 months ago, Grace also had her identity stolen then, and that's why she couldn't pay Elva the money she was promised?
After a week, she emailed back and said that they got her social security number too, so it was like much deeper. It was going to take a little longer. It's now December into January, and we still haven't heard from her. And we're like, all right, well, it's the holidays. I'm sure like she's finishing assorting stuff, like no big deal, but just nothing. We just hear nothing. We get no response back.
Okay, I could see 3 potential scenarios as to what might be going on here. Either A, Grace got her identity stolen back in November of 2024, and then for the following 6 months just lived with a stolen identity and did absolutely nothing about it, and let her credit cards all remain frozen as she claims they've been this entire time. Maybe her identity is still stolen to this day. Or B, maybe she's the unluckiest person in the world who by chance happens to get her identity stolen every 6 months in completely unrelated instances. Or C, she never got her identity stolen at all, and she just uses that as an excuse every time someone asks her to pay the money she owes them. I am but a simple observer in this whole debacle, so I don't know definitively which of those options is true, but I know which one I think it is, and you probably do too. Okay, so that was a side tangent. Let's see what else Elva had to say about this event.
My room personally had mold. It had mold. And the next morning, I coughed up fucking blood. I'm super, super sensitive to mold and allergens. Like, that's why I'm itching my nose. My window's open. I coughed up blood from the hotel. Okay? Have I been paid? No, friends. I have not been paid. I've had to get my lawyer involved. She is now blaming one of the authors or vendors in this email thread for leaking her information, and it's causing her and her safety and her family's safety some fucking stuff. Now she's blaming the actual authors and vendors for leaking her fucking information, y'all. The group of authors that the owner did not like were all put together in one corner because that was her I don't like these people corner.
Of course, I'm linking Elva and her website and TikTok below in the description as well. There's a lot to unpack here. The disgusting hotel rooms that were never paid for as they should have been, Elva, who wasn't paid as per her contract and is now working with the lawyer, plus the fact that Grace can't seem to stop shit-talking her own people to each other. Like how, after months of lies about stolen identities and lost swag bags and a DJ who went to the hospital, we're gonna get to that, okay, we're gonna get to that. After non-stop lying, now she's in email threads blaming the authors? The authors? The people who paid for the privilege of getting to fix your mistakes? Now, let's talk about the alleged bad kids table. As I said, I wasn't at this event, so I can't verify this for sure, but allegedly, according to the authors who were in attendance, multiple people involved have claimed that Grace put a group of authors she had personal beef with in a corner out of the main walkway. It's not only Elva who has claimed this, it's also Percy J. And also Callista Neath as well.
Because we were put on the edge as allegedly problem children, so because we're loud and disruptive and inappropriate and we need to be hidden on the side, not be an embarrassment. But I was a featured author. She literally, I did not apply to this event. She invited me. And this is all alleged because I did not hear with my own ear holes. Obviously because things would have happened if I did.
Yeah, Grace changed the map right before setup time to allegedly put all the problem children together. That's one theory. There's another theory that she changed the map right before setup time because her original map was not up to Fyre code and she was going to get in trouble for that. But either way, she changed the map right before and there was general chaos in the setup, which we'll talk about in a second. So now we've got an event organizer who has been allegedly bad-mouthing her event participants, refusing to pay people what they're owed, and making up nonstop lies. So it's time for the event. All authors are in the process of getting their tables set up. Let's find out how the setup went.
We got an email from the event coordinator a few days before the event saying, let's clear up some rumors. which that's a heck of a way to start an email, I'll tell you what. But she said, I don't know why people are saying we won't have tables. We'll have tables, and we'll have tablecloths. I'm like, that's kind of a given. I really wonder why this is an issue. But the tables were indeed there. The tablecloths, however, were not. And of course, if you're setting up a table, you have to put the tablecloth on first. So a lot of people were just standing around on their tables waiting for these magical tablecloths to appear. Luckily, because authors and vendors and narrators are the best people in the world, we were just helping each other out. A lot of people had extra tablecloths we were letting each other borrow. I brought my own. There were a few tablecloths the event provided, but they were already packaged and there weren't very many of them. So that was tough getting set up.
You guys remember that episode of Tim Robinson's show, I Think You Should Leave, where the lady in the driver's ed video has a job that's just tables? No one understands what she does. She just does tables, and then later it turns out she does tables at conventions. They should have hired that lady for this event. This would have been her time to shine. Dude, a literal Tim Robinson fictional character would have done a better job running this event. Okay, so setup is now turning out to be a bit of a nightmare.
You know what the grand entrance was for this magical book festival? This is it! The convention hall provided that sign. Those ketchup and mustard looking things on the table, those are the wristbands. Note there is nary a streamer, or a helium balloon, or a banner. Anything to say, hey, this is the event you paid $150 for. Come on down.
Oh, okay, that's the entrance, that's the signage. Okay. But as long as the event goes off well, that's all that matters at the end of the day, right? All this can be handled later. Right now, it's time for us to open up the convention doors and let this new wave of readers come in. After all, Archer Management did report multiple times that 500 people outside of the vendors had purchased tickets to this event, with Grace even mentioning other times that she estimated 600 to 800 customers coming, in addition to the 500 tickets she'd sold. So while there were some financial issues, Grace should be able to make all of that money back in ticket sales, and the authors should sell a lot of books to make up for these other problems, and then everyone can sort the rest of this out afterward. I am just kidding, that is not what happened. Yeah, Grace never sold 500 tickets. She was lying about that too. Thank you to the attendee Asthea Bookworm for getting that footage. Now, Grace has not yet admitted to lying about selling 500 tickets. In fact, to this day, she's still claiming that she did nothing wrong and that she definitely did really sell 500 tickets.
This is the email. Those are the dates. When I asked how many attendees do we have so I know like what to send, she said high 500s was what was said.
The email threads that I was informed about, she's trying to show that she sold the number of tickets that she said she sold. She said that 400 attendees didn't attend Friday because they all had COVID. She said that she sold 600 tickets in total and sent proof that she sold 600 tickets in total. Meanwhile, she's using Eventbrite. You can use Eventbrite in many ways. You can gift away tickets on Eventbrite. So she could have just done things like that to mess with the numbers to bump them up.
Okay, yeah, I mean, it's possible that some people maybe got COVID, but we saw how empty that convention floor looked. Maybe that's an off hour, right? Maybe it was more crowded at a different time of day. Maybe a few people got COVID. No. Do you want to know how many attendees, non-vendor attendees, actually showed up to the event? 80. 80. That's less than the total number of vendors. They had more vendors at this event than actual customers. Grace, are you trying to tell us that 420 people all got COVID right before the event? That's 420 people, 420 Blaze It people. No, that's disrespectful. 420 was Easter this year. 420 Praise It people. No. That's disrespectful too. The Pope died on Easter this year, so we can't do that one either. 420 Squoze It. It's a reference to Doormat Mom. Are you really trying to tell me that 420 is the number of people who had to back out of this event last minute because they all managed to get COVID by chance at the same time? If there's any universe where that was actually a possibility, then Baltimore would be the wrong place to be hosting any convention right now, because clearly you guys are getting a nasty wave of the plague and people should be staying home because this event was never safe to begin with. Or more likely, did you only actually sell 80 tickets to begin with, like 20 to 30 for Friday and 50 to 60 for Saturday, like most people who were physically there are reporting? Okay, now it's time for lunch. At most convention centers, when it's time for lunch, attendees can probably, they can go to the food court, they can go to one of the many food kiosks housed within a convention center, or perhaps if you're a vendor, maybe you brought your own lunch and and you'll stay at your table eating it in between when customers come by, or maybe you might take a quick break and go get lunch elsewhere and then come back. So what did they do for lunch at A Million Lives Book Festival?
We had our lunch break at noon, and to announce the lunch break, the event organizer walked into the event hall and just screamed that we're taking a lunch break. No bullhorn, no PA system, just everybody get out.
All right, what happened there? Allegedly, there were no concession stands or food court locations open in the convention hall because, drumroll please, Archer management did not pay for that service. So people had nowhere to get lunch in the convention center, meaning they had to leave and go outside the premises for lunch. That meant authors had to abandon their tables. Normally at an event like this, you have badges. Here, let me show you what a badge looks like. This was my vendor badge for C2E2 this year. When you attend this kind of event, you get a badge to say you're an attendee. When you are a vendor or an exhibitor, you get a badge that says you're an exhibitor. This is how security knows who to let into the convention hall. That way they don't accidentally let in outside people who want to steal the merchandise or cause chaos. And as a result, exhibitors can feel safe leaving their booth for a few minutes to go get lunch, and at most conventions, going to get lunch is going to be very close by. But see, here's the thing. Grace forgot to get the badges. No, sorry. According to her, she didn't forget. The story is actually that the badges broke. They broke.
Also, we didn't have badges. The badges broke.
Okay. I need someone to tell me how you can break things. Let's play with it a little bit. I'm not... How do you break this? There's no easy accidental way for this to break. Did she run them through a wood chipper? How the fuck did she break over 100 of these?
She didn't. She didn't want to pay for them, so she never ordered them in the first place.
Okay, we're halfway through the first day now. People who paid for an audience ticket didn't come here just to buy books. I mean, sure, that is one of the big reasons that they came here, but the reason to go to an event with the authors there, in addition to buying the books, which you can do, at a bookstore or online or wherever, the purpose of going to an event is to meet the authors, to get to know them, to go to their panels and discussions and learn more about these authors and their writing processes, how to publish a book, things like that, you name it. So of course this convention had panels, right? Yes, it did. It did. We briefly spoke earlier about the audiobook narrator panel, if you remember the people sitting on the floor because, Archer management forgot about chairs. But there were other panels too. For example, on Friday at 1 p.m., there was a panel about racial diversity in writing hosted by a group of authors of color. Positive things about this panel? They did have chairs, which already is a huge improvement. Negative things about this panel. It was originally listed to start at 1, and then the authors arrived in the room at 1, but the room was locked, and that was because it turned out that they moved the panel to 1:30, but didn't notify anyone that they'd moved the panel to 1:30, and the panel took place on Friday, which was the day that only VIP tickets costing $150 or more got access to, so the general admission attendees couldn't even go to this panel, so there was a total of like 3 people in the audience. Oh, and they lost the moderator. Or rather, Grace probably just forgot to secure a moderator. She allegedly claimed there would be a journalist named Victor moderating the panel, but no, that's not what happened.
Somebody sent this to me, and I'll zoom in on it. This was the guy who was moderating our panel. Do you know who he is? This colored mofo. This is her husband. Now, why would you send your husband to moderate the BIPOC panel when you have nothing to do with the industry? None. Allegedly, supposedly, because I hear it with my own ear holes, this is Victor. Victor has a journalism degree, and he was the one supposed to be moderating our panel. The more things people send me, just the wilder this gets. I'm in disbelief.
Yeah, Grace got her husband to moderate, and I'm putting moderate in quotes because according to basically every panelist who interacted with him, no, they didn't. No, they didn't interact with him because all he did was stand off in the corner looking annoyed to be there and didn't do any moderating at all. Like, he didn't even announce that it was time for the panel to start. The panelists had to do everything themselves. The narration panel had no chairs. The racial diversity panel had no moderator. All right, what happened during the LGBTQ panel? So remember Sarah Zane, the author who brought the receipts with the whole bookstore debacle on Threads earlier? She was a speaker on the LGBTQ panel, and this was her experience.
So we were told that the moderator for our panel was going to be Victor, a journalist friend of the organizer. So we were excited about that we were going to be interviewed by a journalist. And we got these questions. Pause to read these questions. I was personally confused by the questions because a lot of them seemed to be asking the same thing and seemed to be saying the same thing, but the panels weren't well advertised. We were told that our panel started at 10:30, but the website said the panel started at 10. All of the panelists on the LGBTQ+ panel were told that the panel started at 10:30. Me and a few of the other LGBTQ+ authors went up right around 10:30. We went in and it was just us and a guy in the room. We didn't know the guy. The guy didn't say anything to us, so we went in and we sat. There were chairs set up in like kind of a semicircle facing the audience chairs. In the audience chairs, I don't think I took a picture of that, but there were about, I'd say there were room for 20 attendees, which was odd because normally when I do a panel, there's chairs for about 100 people. This was a conference room with 20 chairs for attendees, which ended up not being a problem because there were only 5 people sitting in the audience. 3 of those people were author assistants who came with us, and 2 of those people were attendees, which shout out to them. So we were expecting Victor to be there. That was not who was there. This is the man that was there. I don't have a picture of him from there, but this is the man. So this man is Grace's husband. Grace is the organizer of Archer Management. So, and that would have been fine had he come up to us and introduced himself and explained that, like, you know, Victor, the journalist, the qualified moderator, couldn't be there for some reason, or, you know, had he said anything. But when I say this man stood in the back of the panel and did not say anything, I am not exaggerating. He did not introduce himself. He did not introduce us. He did not say anything.
Same thing happened again, huh? At least there were chairs, I guess. I guess the bar's in hell now. That's the metric of success. At least there were chairs. You may have noticed if you looked at the schedule that there's also a music performance on the schedule. Do we think that Archer Management set up things like a microphone or a sound system or speakers or chairs for the audience? Do we? Let's look at the music performance that happened. The text on screen says, unfortunately, the event failed to provide the sound equipment we were promised, so we had to improvise an acoustic set. And they did so, drumroll please, on the floor. Just kidding, no drumroll. There was no drumroll involved because there was no percussion equipment available. But I was being serious about it being on the floor. Tessa, the musician here, is also linked in my description below if you want to show her some love as well. Don't forget though, we still have another asset, another perk of being VIP ticket holders that we haven't addressed yet. Sure, they didn't get their swag bags. Sure, the panels had no chairs and were moderated by a miserable man who was embodying Dante from Clerks going, I'm not supposed to be here. But what about the content creation room? Surely the content creation room will deliver. After all, so many of these featured authors are big on TikTok, so they've got to be filming and vlogging throughout the entire convention, and it's great that there's a designated place for them to do that. I mean, assuming that's what the content creation room is. The website never actually told us what it is. Was the content creation room a place for influencers to meet up and film their vlogs? Was it soundproof? Was it a place for guests to meet their favorite influencers and guest star in their vlogs? Was it a content creator meet and greet space? What was the mysterious content creation room?
So the content creation room was open on Friday. You know that infamous picture from DashCon with the ball pit in the empty room? Picture that exactly without the ball pit. I know you're thinking, Percy, do you mean to tell me that this content creation room that was billed as an amenity was just an empty conference room for people just to walk into and stand in? Yes. Yes, I am.
As promised, here's the content creation room. Not sure what kind of content you're going to create in there, but thank you, Coco, for taking that photo. I'm so glad that it will live on in DashCon-like fame.
That particular photo is apparently the only content ever created in that room. A photo of the content creation room in its soulless, empty solitude. I think that says a lot about society, a content creation room that lacks any contents of any kind. That's a commentary on capitalism, I think. So on Friday, on VIP day, the content creation room was empty, completely void of content of any kind. But surely they would add something there on Saturday, on general admission day, because there'd be a lot more people, and people want to go to the content creation room, right?
Unfortunately, though, the content creation room was unavailable. My friends and I were so excited to go create content in this designated area for posterity's sake, but we were told the content creation room was closed due to technical difficulties. So whatever that means aside, if you paid $55 to be here on Saturday, the content creation room that you were promised is no longer a thing. So you paid $55 to walk around the convention hall. And I guess technically to do cosplay meetups. So one of the amenities was just meeting with other people in a public place.
It was closed due to technical difficulties. Technical difficulties! With what technology, Grace? It was an empty room! I swear, I really do give people the benefit of the doubt sometimes to a fault, but is anyone else starting to get James Somerton vibes from this girl, like big James Somerton energy? We've talked about the hotel rooms and how they mysteriously moved to another hotel, and how they weren't paid for due to Grace's supposed second identity theft in 6 months. We talked about the lack of badges and how they broke. We talked about the swag bags. The swag bags that apparently someone threw out. We talked about the 500 tickets that were sold, but that everyone got COVID at once and had to stay home. But we still have one huge piece of this event that we have not yet discussed. One big piece of the puzzle, perhaps the most iconic and infamous moment of this event, and you're all finally ready to hear about it. People have been comparing A Million Lives to DashCon, the infamous failure of a convention from 2014. But DashCon was infamous for its ball pit. A Million Lives had no ball pit. No, they could not afford an entire pit. A Million Lives had, but just one ball. All right, let's talk about the ball. The highest tier ticket for the event at $250 justified its price point by offering access to the ball, the highly anticipated lavender fantasy ball, a ball where you could dress up as your favorite fantasy character, or your OC, or a character from your novel, or as a princess or a wizard, whatever. You could put it all on display. You were going to go all out on your cosplay. There would be an open bar, there would be a table of desserts, there'd be a DJ playing fun tunes so you could dance the night away with your fellow author friends and your readers. The event may have been a bust overall, but hey, there were still the attendees who did come, plus there were nearly 100 authors there, and everyone wanted to unwind after a very stressful weekend, so everyone got dressed up and headed to the ball. Thank you to author Stephanie Combs for that excellent representation of the ball. As we can clearly see from this TikTok, the ball was advertised as a formal event, something where you'd want to dress up, an event with a theme. Yet when they got there, where were the decorations?
We're walking in to the...
This
we're going.
was what I walked into.
Okay, so maybe some of the decorations weren't there, but these authors were already in the mindset of making the best of the situation, so instead, how about they unwind with a nice drink from the open bar? No, they can't do that, because when Grace said there would be a bar, she actually meant a cash bar. So now drinks are going to cost extra on top of all the money these people already lost and didn't recoup to, there being a lack of customers, so they cannot afford $10 for a tiny little cup of wine. So they can't even drink their problems away, but yeah, that's unhealthy to do anyway, right? So that doesn't matter. It's gonna be okay. That's not what this event is about. No, the purpose of a ball is to let loose and dance. So these authors were gonna dance the night away, right? Right? No, oh no, Grace, no. Grace, no, Grace, no, Grace, you didn't forget the music, did you? Not the music. You didn't forget the music. Grace, there's no way. No, Grace, no! Yeah, Grace showed up to the ball and allegedly told the attendees that she was sorry, but the DJ she hired suddenly had to go to the emergency room. Maybe he slipped and broke his badge. Now, emergencies happen, and yeah, at this point, I'm pretty sure Grace either A, forgot to hire a DJ, or B, didn't feel like paying one, but let's just say for the sake of the argument that he really did go to the emergency room. If you were in charge of an event and your DJ suddenly had to go to the emergency room, what would you do? I know what I would do. I would go find like the nearest Walgreens and buy a speaker, then hook up some music and get the party going. If I could, maybe I'd call a friend or send out someone working with me to go get a speaker so that we could get the music going faster. But what Grace chose to do instead was nothing. She did nothing. Eventually, a security guard at the event noticed that their ball had no music, so he let them borrow his Bluetooth speaker. If he hadn't done that, there would have been no music at the ball. A group of the authors ended up naming the Bluetooth speaker Steve, so at least Steve the DJ was okay in the end and remained out of the hospital. Many of you have probably seen this apology video going around on TikTok.
Hi everybody. I am wanting to issue a formal apology. I do understand that the ball tonight was not set up to standards. There were a lot of issues with getting set up and it was not set up well. I want to apologize. If you would like a refund, please contact me and I will issue a refund immediately. Thank you.
Wow, that was quick and efficient. Did Grace have a sudden change of heart and learn to take accountability while the ball was still going on? Or does it kind of look like someone's making her make this video? Like maybe there's someone behind the camera threatening her and making her make this video. Like maybe a group of authors at the ball confronted her about the horrible treatment they'd received all weekend, and now she was trying to mitigate the shitstorm before it really took off. Well, I will let this story's true hero, Callista Neath, answer that for us.
Okay, so the girl at the event that we're at, if you're here or if you've seen my schedule, you know where I am. These people that were with me at the time, she said that she was going to issue an apology on Insta or TikTok or whatever, something out there, and I told her to tag me in it so I can see it, and she said that she's issuing refunds. See, we all heard that, right? Issuing refunds, yes, yeah.
Yep, Callista told Grace she needed to issue refunds, got a group of witnesses to watch as she agreed, and then posted about it on TikTok. Thank goodness somebody here understands accountability.
So at this point, I confront Grace there. I'm livid, but I'm not screaming, but I'm livid. And I tell her this is not acceptable. You need to issue an apology. You need to refund the readers for coming here and doing this. This is not a ball. This is not what you advertised. You took people's money to come here, and this is not acceptable. I walked away from her because I was heated and I don't want to start cussing her out. Maybe 15 minutes go by. I'm with my group of friends, the trouble row. So she comes back up to me and she tells me that she's apologized, she's issuing refunds. And I was like, great. Where'd you post it? Is it on Instagram or on TikTok? And she's like, I'm just walking around. No, not everyone is here and not everyone will hear you. And quite honestly, I don't believe her. So I tell her to make a post and to tag me in it so I can see it and I can share it with my readers and everybody else that has been here.
As of right now, Grace is claiming that refunds will be issued and that she is processing all the refund requests. She says that people will have their money back within the month. But who knows? Who's to say she won't magically get her identity stolen again? I guess we'll just have to wait and see. In the process of researching for this video, I watched a lot of TikToks and read a lot of threads from authors who attended this festival and were wronged. But every single one of these authors that I saw also took the time to thank their readers for coming out to see them. Every person managed to fit in a shout out to the people who did manage to make it to their panels, even if it was a much smaller group than expected. Every single author, narrator, artist, bookstore employee, every person who exhibited at this festival, whose content I saw, they all took the time to express their gratitude for each person who did show up for that small crowd, and they basically all echoed the same sentiment, that they were still thankful for another opportunity to connect with their readers. Pretty much every author has handled this situation with class, kindness, and grace. Ironically enough, the only person who didn't handle the situation with grace was Grace. As I mentioned earlier in the video, I will be linking these authors' TikTok pages and websites in my description below, and any other resources I can find for how to better publicize and support the authors who were done wrong by this mess of an event. And here's a bit of unsolicited advice for Grace from a fellow indie author who started publishing books and started my own business at 23, just like you did, who understands the impulsive girl boss energy bubbling up inside of you. Take a step back. Breathe. Take a deep breath, take a pause, and calm down. Your life is not over, you're 25 years old, and you still have a bright future ahead of you, assuming you actually learn from this. First things first, Archer Management as a company is done. Girl, get rid of that company, cancel the October event you have planned. Oh, yeah, that's another thing. She also has another book festival planned in October. Girl, cancel that right now. Focus on your writing. Work on building a community with your readers and with fellow authors. If event planning truly is your passion, take some time and study it. Gain some experience. Work with people who have planned events professionally before. Help out at another person's event. See what goes into each step of the process. Find a mentor. And then in a few years, or, more like a decade or so, maybe then you'll be ready to try again. But not by yourself. No one can run an event this big by themselves. No one. From everything I saw, the event seemed to have no other staff than Grace herself. Sure, there were a couple security guards who were already working there at the venue, but it didn't seem like anyone other than Grace was there on behalf of Archer Management specifically. Grace, if you choose to plan another event in the future, the distant future, mind you, you'll need other people involved. You'll need need to work with people on logistics, on hospitality, on coordinating with guests and authors. You'll need people to work with you at the venue the day of the event. Even if, without lying to anyone, you manage to have an event where, by a stroke of really bad luck, everything does manage to go wrong one thing after the next, you will need to have multiple other people there with you on site so that you can divide and conquer and solve each of those problems one by one without it destroying the entire festival. Until then, I will be looking for recommendations of indie author festivals to support. I'm hoping next year to travel for a lot more conventions and do more festivals and in-person signing events. So if anyone has some good book festivals to recommend, please let me know in the comments below, because I'm in the process of trying to find new events and applying for tables. I'd love to be on a panel. I'd love to participate in these things in any way more, because I really do love doing events like this, just as long as the event isn't a scam. So I guess that's the big question we need to discuss as our conclusion to this video. Was this event a scam? To be honest, I still don't know. After obsessively reading over every bit of gossip and tea from this clusterfuck of a weekend, I'm still left baffled as to whether Grace is malicious or incompetent. Did she set out to scam all these authors with no plan to ever deliver on her promises, hoping to pocket some of the money and get away with it, assuming most of these authors just wouldn't bother speaking up and starting drama? Or did she genuinely want to put on a good event but just didn't have the skills, finances, budget, or experience to do so? I don't know. But I am curious, and I'd love to know what your guys' thoughts are in the comments below. But for now, I'm off to scope out some new books to read from these amazing author recommendations that I got from researching this video. So I will see y'all later. Have a good weekend. Bye!
Get you some nuts.
Yeah, you effing.
Up yours, woke moralist. We'll see who cancels who.